Welcome to Chef Richard's Kitchen. I'm Chef Richard Miller. Today we're going to make an easy, but to me at least it's an extremely elegant dish. It's one of them that if you want to serve to guests, it's extremely impressive. If you want to serve it to family, you'll get good reviews, actually get raves over it. And what I'm talking about is I'm talking about chicken Cordon Bleu. And there are two types of Cordon Bleus really. One is veal, which is the more traditional, but as it migrated, pretty much to the States, it became chicken. And a misconception is everyone thinks that Cordon Bleu is actually French and could have come from the Culinary Institute Cordon Bleu. Actually, no. It's not nearly as how do we call it, high class or highly refined as that. But at the same time, let's not take it away from the actual creator. It was created up in Switzerland, and the cafe or restaurant that the woman owned or cooked for, if I ever knew it, it's long gone. I don't remember it. But anyway, what had happened is two groups of guests had been booked at her restaurant, and when it came right down to it, she didn't have enough food for it. And what she did was she came up and she started mixing a lot of these different type foods. And one of them that she mixed was chicken and cheese and ham. And by gosh, it turned out really well. Some years later, someone entered it in a contest, and that's when it won the French ribbon, blue ribbon, which, by the way, Le Cordon Bleu is the ribbon blue in French, and that's where it got the name. So anyway, it's a Swiss dish. I'm sure there was probably instances that it was made before that, just not necessarily documented. When it came to this country, it became more associated with chicken, and pretty much chicken Cordon Bleu is what we have today. Does that mean you can't use veal or pork or whatever? No. Use whatever you want, whatever you have on hand. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you as what I I've done these videos for, is just show you how to make a nice dinner, a nice dish, easily and inexpensively. And we're going to do that here. So let's get started. The first thing we do is I took 3 chicken breasts and butterflied them. What do you mean by butterfly? I put them down on a cutting board and I sliced them part way through, about 3/4 the way through, butterflied them open, trimmed if I needed to cut a little bit more. Then I put them between 2 plastic sheets, took out the meat mallet and gently pounded them down. That increases their size about 2-fold. And I want to get it down to where they're about 1/4 inch thick. Why? Well, number one, it's much easier to roll them and assemble them if they're thin like this. Also, they cook much more evenly. And you'll find that very often, I take the meat mallet and I pound something down, or at least, reduce it to an even size. And that's just because it cooks so much more evenly and so much better. So, the first thing we're going to do is I already went ahead and I butterflied and I reduced, thinned out the meat. The second thing we're going to do is I've got my breadcrumbs here, and part of these breadcrumbs, now I've heard people just use regular breadcrumbs. Some use panko breadcrumbs, and they'd be excellent, because when you get them when you get them fried or baked, they're extremely crunchy. I had some of my sourdough breadcrumbs left over, and I didn't have quite enough of them, so what I did was I just went ahead and I used some regular store-bought plain breadcrumbs. The first thing we want to do with this is I want to take and I want to put about a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, and about a teaspoon of thyme. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stir these because I want it fairly well mixed before I take on my next step. Now, lots of people recommend deep frying these before you bake them, or just deep frying them. Well, I'm not a big fan, of deep frying. And how many of my viewers at home have a deep fryer? Yeah, maybe one of these fry daddies, but those really aren't big enough to do much of this. You could do it with a Dutch oven, but then you've got to use probably, two quarts of, or 2 liters of oil, and then what do you do with it afterwards? It's a real hassle. So what I'm going to do here is just show you the way that, you can do it by baking. And to make sure that we get a reasonably good browning on there, what I'm going to do is I took a couple of tablespoons of butter and melted them. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix these in well with our breadcrumbs. And sometimes the best spoon in the world is just your fingers, so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix these in until you can tell that the breadcrumbs have been coated. Yeah. They've been coated, and the spices that we put in there are incorporated. Okay, now what we want to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to put down probably about a half cup of flour. All right. Now, before we do this, what we have to do is we want to take and we want to assemble our Cordon Bleu. And let me move this stuff back around so it'll be easier to see. What we're going to do is we're going to take our Cordon Bleu, and this one I didn't cut exactly right, so it's got some holes in it, but it'll work anyway. I'm going to take a piece of ham, and what I'm using here is I'm just using Black Forest ham, just deli ham. That's all I'm using. And I'm going to put on a slice of Swiss cheese. Now, I'm also going to take, and just because I like a little mix in here, I'm going to put in just a little bit of Gruyere. Now, you could put in Gruyere. You don't have to put in anything. Just regular Swiss cheese will work just fine. But you can use Gruyere, you can use Gouda, you could use an Emmentaler. And if you remember, Emmentaler cheese go back and look at when I did the Reuben sandwich, and I followed Chef Bernie Schimmel's recipe, he used Emmentaler instead of Swiss cheese. What's the difference? Emmentaler is a little nuttier, a little more mellow. And since remember, he trained, over there in Switzerland, that's probably, Swiss cheese is more over here, Emmentaler was more over there. So, all right, now we're going to take this and we're going to roll it up. Like this. And we're going to set it over here. Now, there are a couple of different ways people do this. Some of them go ahead and put toothpicks in them. That's fine. But I'm going to just show you a little different way of doing it. All right. For the second one, we're going to do the same thing. And once again, we're just going to roll it up like such. All right. And now for our third. And once again, just like the other two, we're just going to go ahead and roll it up. Now, let me go ahead and I'm going to clean up a little bit, because what I want to do next is I want to wrap these a little bit, and I'm going to show you how to do this without having to put toothpicks in there. Why is that? Well, remember, whenever you cook, as I always say in pretty much every episode, who are you thinking about? Your guests. Well, if you forget to take the toothpick out, well, let's just do it so we don't have to put them in. Give me a minute here and I'll clean up and I'll be right back and we'll do the rest of it. All right, what we're doing now is I'm just taking some plastic wrap, and I took and I wrapped my chicken up in that, wrapping them tightly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the refrigerator to kind of firm up a little bit. That way, number one, I'm not going to have to use the toothpicks if I lay the seam side down, and number two, that'll help keep the cheese in so that it doesn't melt and run out. And what I've done there is just simply took my piece of Cordon Bleu here, put it on a piece of plastic, and now I'm wrapping this up tightly. All right, there we are. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. Then we're going to be back. We're going to go ahead and we're going to bread them and we're going to bake them. And while it's baking, we're going to make our sauce for over the top of it. So, give me 30 minutes and I'll be right back. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, so let's go ahead and take the chicken out of the wrappings, such. And the first thing I want to do is I want to roll it in flour. All right, I want to roll it in flour, and then of course knock any of the excess off. Now I want to roll it in the egg. And this is what's actually going to make the breadcrumb stick. Now I'm going to roll it in the breadcrumbs. And I'm going to press them in a little bit just because I want to make sure that they do stick. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set them on a rack on a baking sheet. Now, why do I put them on a rack on a baking sheet? Well, that way the heat gets all around it. It completely encompasses it. If I didn't, what would happen is it'd be soggy on the bottom. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do number 2. And once again, put our crumbs all over the chicken roll and press them in. And finally, number 3. Seems I wrapped this one a little tight. There. And once again, roll this in the crumbs and pat it down. Just so you make sure that all the crumbs are sticking. And then place it seam side down on your rack. All right? Now, there was one spot here that just didn't get quite covered. All right. Now, since our rack is, done here, I'm going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 375. We're going to stick it in for a few minutes, probably about 25 minutes. We're going to check it with the thermometer to make sure we're up to at least 165. So, let me go ahead and do that. And I'll be right back. Don't go away. Come on, I know you want to come back. I sure want you to come back too. So be there. Okay, now, while the chicken is ready to bake and is going in and baking, now let's go ahead and we've got to make a little sauce for this. And the sauce is essentially going to be basically a wine and cream sauce with a little Dijon in there. It's very, very, very good. And I think if you give it a try, I think you'll absolutely love it. So right now I'm going ahead and I'm letting my oil heat up. And I'm going to put in about a half of a good sized shallot. All right. All right, and we're going to let this go ahead, and we're going to saute it down until the shallots are pretty much translucent. Oh, you can definitely tell the fragrance on here. As soon as these are translucent, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to put some margarine in here, and we're going to go ahead and let that melt, and we're going to make a roux. We're going to put some flour in there. Then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. We're going to let it thicken up. And there's going to be our sauce. All right. Let's go ahead and let's put our butter in here. There, letting this melt down. Now we're going to add probably a couple tablespoons of flour. And now we're going to go ahead, we're going to make this a roux. We're going to keep stirring this until it's smooth. There's our roux. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in about a third of a cup, excuse me, about a third of a cup of a dry white wine, and about 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and add my Dijon mustard. And I want to add a little bit more liquid, and I'm just going to add some more This is just my own home fermented Sauvignon Blanc. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's getting nice and smooth. I want to add just a little bit more wine though. let's give it a taste. Very good, but that makes all the difference in the world. So here we go. We have our cream sauce. Now let's just go ahead and let's wait for our chicken to get out of the oven, and then we'll be ready to plate. And you know what that means? Yep, it's time to taste it. That's always my favorite part. So, be right back. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes at 375 degrees, and I took the temperature with my thermometer, and it was 165 degrees. So now that we let it rest for probably about 10 minutes, the temperature will go up a little bit. We'll get up to about 170, 175, which is about where we expect chicken should be. So now let's plate. All right, what I have here is I have my Cordon Bleu, and I have some little small carrots. And what I want to do now is I want to take and I want to cut my chicken up a little bit. All right. And I want to take a little bit of my sauce and put it on the top here. And as far as the carrots go, I just want to put a little salt and pepper on them. Why carrots? I don't know, just because I just thought they looked good and they go well. Now, garnish. I've got some chives here that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put over the top of this. All right, and now I've actually got a couple of, as you can see over there, what I've done is I've got a couple of blossoms that have blossomed on my chives up. This is just stuff out of my garden. And the blossoms, yes, they're edible. And if you actually take and you chew and eat one of them, they have a very garlicky taste to them. They're extremely good. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a few of those on here as garnish. If you want, you could also put part of a lemon on there as a garnish. That'd go well. You want to put parsley on there? Yeah, if you want, but if you're using the onion blossom off the chive, no, I don't think you really need it. So anyway, here we go. This is chicken cordon bleu. It's very, very good. I've gone ahead and I've tried it. I think you'll like it too. Why don't you give it a try? I'd really appreciate it. Let me know. Write me a comment, letting me know how it goes. If you have any problems, write that down too. I'll be more than happy to get back to you. And let's see if you have any problems, we can get those taken care of so you can enjoy making this as much as I can. So until then, remember, thank you again for letting me into your home. I really, really appreciate it. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, and more than anything, subscribe. And if you have a friend of yours that really is enjoying cooking, then ask them to subscribe too. So, in the meantime, take care. God bless. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, remember, cooking should always, always be fun. Bye for now.